Start your electric journey right here, right now. With a Volvo XC90 Recharge, our plug-in hybrid SUV with extended range. For more everyday electric journeys on a single charge, with a hybrid option for longer adventures. Contact your local retailer to book a test drive or design your own vehicle at volvocars.com/US. The Volvo XC90 Recharge Plug-in Hybrid, the electric car with a backup plan.
We've seen all the video call fails by now. The mute button mishaps, the cat cameos, people not realizing the camera's on when their pants are off. But none of this makes Fred feel any better about giving an entire sales pitch, mistakenly using a filter that turns him into an itsy-bitsy baby duck.
How do I turn this thing off?
It's too late, Fred. It's too late. When you realize it's better to do business in person, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to the Hilton Garden Inn, Fred. The meeting room is right down the hall.
Hilton, for the stay.
Walmart Plus members save on meeting up with friends. Save on having them over for dinner with free delivery with no hidden fees or markups. That's groceries, plus napkins, plus that vegetable chopper to make things a bit easier. Plus, members save on gas to go meet them in their neck of the woods. Plus, when you're ready for the ultimate sign of friendship, start a show together with your included Paramount Plus subscription. Walmart Plus members save on this plus so much more. Start a 30-day free trial at walmartplus.com. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. See Walmart Plus terms and conditions.
This episode of The Sportsman's Empire is brought to you by Interstate Batteries. Since 1952, Interstate Batteries has been evoking compassion and a trustworthy spirit into the surrounding communities. Interstate Batteries is a mission-driven company fueled by purpose and guided by their values. If you need help locating a specific battery, stop into your local Interstate Batteries retail store and speak with a battery specialist. They even offer cell phone repairs. Interstate Batteries. Outrageously dependable.
Welcome everyone, my name is Jacob. Thank you for joining me. This is Hunt Detail, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the X and Y axes of hunting, and that's really duration along one axis and location along the other. And where those two intercept is where we often fill a tag. And I had a chance to spend some time out in the field this weekend doing some scouting in a public land area that has really been a puzzle to me. And I've been trying to figure that puzzle out. And I'll get into that in just a second. But I wanted to take a moment to thank each and every one of you all for listening, and those of you that are subscribed to the feed, those of you that have checked out and are following the Hunt Detail YouTube channel. I really appreciate your help and support. If you haven't already, if you could go to iTunes or Spotify, whatever platform you're using to listen to this, and give it a 5-star review, that would be a huge help as well. The objective of this podcast is to really provide value and insight. That's really the objective, nothing else. I have a background, for those of you that don't know, I have a background in education and teaching, and it's something that I've done all my life, is not only to learn about things and to gather insights and information, but also to share it with others. It's something that is brings joy to me. It's something that I enjoy doing, and again, thank you for your support. So again, going back to what I was saying, the X and Y axis of hunting, sort of the location and the duration. If you think about a piece of private land, you probably have the location pretty spelled out, pretty marked out. You know the travel patterns of the doe family groups. You know whether there's buck bedding on that piece of property, or whether they travel through there a particular time of year, if it's only during the rut, or if they happen to be on that property at a different time of year, late season or early season or what have you, based on particular food sources. And in some cases we can just sit stands, you sit in a particular area and just wait it out, and by pure chance or luck, a random deer comes by, and then we fill our tag. But for me, as it relates to public land, I'm trying to not hit singles and doubles and just go into an area and hunt and hope that something happens. I really want to be efficient with my time when the season does come. It comes very fast, and things happen quickly. And if you're able to put in time scouting some of your public land spots this year, at this time of year, it really, I believe, can help pay off in the fall. And there is an area that I hunt out of state that has really puzzled me for the past few years. It's an area that gets a decent amount of pressure, but I've gotten trail cam pictures of some just incredible bucks. I mean, really Boone and Crockett class bucks, I believe. And I mean, one of them is a tall, straight 12-pointer, wide and tall, and just incredible. And then another one that I call the elk buck has just a twisty mess of antlers all over the place. And I don't know if these bucks are still alive. Quite honestly, it's been a year or two since I've gotten pictures of them. But I do know that there are good bucks in this area, and it's interesting that the pictures of deer that I've gotten in this particular area, the quality of deer is just a touch. There's a different class of deer than some of the other areas that I have hunted that are even more remote on this particular piece of public. It's difficult for me to get to. It's not close to where I live, and so it takes, again, I'm traveling to another state, and it takes a little bit of time and bandwidth to get there and to scout it the way I want to scout it. What's interesting is that I have hit home runs in other parts of this public piece of property, but the tier of bucks isn't, I don't think, is nearly as high as what I've uncovered in this particular spot, despite the fact that this spot even gets more pressure than this other spot where I have hit home runs. So to give you an idea, it's these. There's a ridge that runs north and south, and these are pretty steep ridges. And then there's a ridge that runs. Then there's a large creek that separates. There's one ridge that runs north and south that separates it from another ridge that runs more east and west. And what I have done is gotten a lot of intel from creek crossings on the creek between these two ridges. And this is where I've gotten some of the pictures of these larger deer. But this, to me, seems to be where a lot of the hunting pressure is, which is surprising. And so on one of the ridges, the ridge that runs east and west, it is incredibly steep, pretty much all the way around. There is one area that's an access point that I do know if you access the ridge system from that point, then it's going to take you a while to get to from one point, let's say the far west point, to get to the farthest east point. And so what I've been trying to do is access it from the east, where it is incredibly steep. And when I say steep, I mean like trekking pole steep, where you feel like you need something else to help you get up. And there are areas where it sort of cliffs out. And so I try to access it from directions that I know it's not, most folks aren't going to access it. They're going to access it from the easier way, if at all. And when they do, they may not even get to the point where I'm at, because it would be such a hike and a haul. And a lot of people aren't willing to drag or take their gear or even drag a buck out that far. A lot of times people will talk themselves out of going somewhere because they don't want to drag a buck up or down a hill or something. So anyway, there's what's interesting is that on the top of this ridge that runs east and west, it's really flat. Like, I really like hunting hill terrain, but it's straight up and down, and then it's basically all flat. And so when it's all flat, to me it's not pinching down movement or funneling down movement. And so it makes it difficult to hunt it because you could be off. I mean, there's trails that, could be anywhere. It's not pinching them down, so you're not getting a funneling effect of deer movement. And I have hunted and I have had encounters with bucks and it didn't work out, but again, when I did see one of the bucks that I was after, he was, I don't know, 60 yards away, and there was no way that he was going to come my way unless that was pure luck. And so I was able to get out there this weekend, and I came up sort of the backside of where the main pressure comes from, like I described. I'm going up this steep ridge system, and what I found was a trail that runs along the upper third for a period of time, that runs a little along the edge that I hadn't seen before, and is pretty, when it does thicken up, it's almost impossible to see. And if you think about it, when you do hunt an area that in the fall, you really don't, personally, I do a lot of scouting and hunting. I'll scout till I hunt. But in this area, I was hesitant to do that sort of thing. And because it is so steep, you only sort of feel like there's only one way up. And what I found just this weekend was that there is a different way around the ridge, similar to where I'm coming up, but just a little bit different pathway. And in addition to that, in the creek system, in the creek below, I found an area where I feel like a lot of movement is happening because, as you all know, in a lot of creeks, you have these large embankments that nothing's going to cross there. But when you have areas along the creek system that get more shallow, easier to cross, there's a gradual slope of the bank, not sort of a steep embankment, you're going to see more trails coming through there. And so the way that is set up along the creek was perfect, because the ridge is so steep that you have about a 50-yard area where anything that's coming through is going to come up against that creek, and another pinch area is going across to that creek. So you have a pinch or a funnel along the edge of the steep ridge that's sort of suggesting all movement stay here. And then you have another area where anything that wants to cross the creek is going to have to cross in this particular spot because of the steep embankments. And so now you have sort of a north and south and then an east and a west intersection of those two funnels or two pinch points, which was really exciting to me. So that was something that I added to my notes as it relates to this area. And again, along the creek system is where I've found a lot of these where I've gotten pictures of these larger Boone and Crockett deer. Now, these are all night pictures, and it doesn't suggest that they're there during the day. But as we all know, that trail cam, pics are, they don't capture all of the intel, but it does give you an idea of some of the movement. So that spot really came to light there, where you have a creek crossing and you have sort of the funnel caused by the steep ridge. But then, up top, as I was describing, I had found another trail up, and I took that trail. It sort of, again, it comes around the edge of this steep ridge. It's about a third of the way up. It was a very small, light trail. I didn't see any rubs or anything of that would be enlightening, but it was still encouraging, because it gave me another way to access this flat area where once you get up top, there is a large area of oaks, a large oak flat, several large oak flats, and these are areas that if you go further west along that ridge, you get into a bunch of thick brush, and sure, there's other food sources, but I would say that this is the area on the farthest western tip of this ridge where there's a lot of oaks. And so this is a, sort of a feeding area. And when I hunt it, I don't want to walk through it. And as I was coming up up the ridge previously, if this makes any sense, is I was coming up on one side of it, and I would have to walk through it to get to hunt another portion of it, that sort of thing. But this ancillary trail that I found actually helped me loop around it. So I had 4 cameras set up on the top of this ridge, and I just really wanted to get a sense of what was happening deer movement wise with it, as it relates to doe families, as it relates to buck movement, anything at all, people pressure. And so I pulled those cameras, and what I found was that more towards the middle of this east to west ridge, on the furthest western side of it, is where I found a lot of buck movement and a lot of doe family movement, for that matter. And I didn't break it down into the the wind direction or time of day or anything like that. I'm just looking at it from a high level standpoint. I just want to understand what areas have the most deer movement, and even as it relates to the bucks, the size of bucks or anything like that. I'm just like, okay, I've got 4 cameras. Which of these show me that the most the area that's most utilized by the deer that utilize this area? So what was interesting is I did see some early season movement. I saw a lot of October, November movement, but I saw a lot of December movement. And if you're like me, if you hunt December, I find it very difficult to find good movement on public land that's not ag related. Like, of course, ag related movement, is a different story. But when you're on public land and you're not near a bunch of agriculture, then finding those December deer can be a challenge. And this showed a lot of daylight December movement because, as we all know, that December time frame, these are deer that have been highly pressured. They've been hunted a long time on public ground, and so wherever they are in December is an area that they feel really, really safe. So as I pulled one of the cameras, I had put one of the cameras in between sort of an area that is a little bit of a washout. It dips down and it forces any deer that want to go from one part of the ridge to another part, they have to cross. So it was a sort of an area that was a crossing area. And when I came up to it, I noticed that a couple large trees had fallen down and almost hit my camera, but they now forced deer to move differently in this area. And it was funny, I could even see it in the pictures. Like, I could see times when deer came after the trees had fallen, and they were trying to figure out what happened to our little road system here. What happened to our path that we normally take? And then of course those pictures stopped because deer started moving differently. So as I worked around, grabbed all of the cameras, I came across a trail that runs north and south, and this trail actually runs perpendicular to this crossing that I had thrown a camera on. And so I really liked the trail. It ran along sort of a thick area right on the border of where this oak flat stopped and where it met this thick brushy area. And so you have this trail that's running north and south on a ridge, that ridge system that primarily runs east and west, and then it comes close to where that new pinch point is with the fallen trees. And I wanted to find a tree that put me there, that put me close to that new pinch based on the large trees that had fallen, and also this trail that ran north and south, because I felt like, okay, this is very clear that we're not gonna. This is an area that I want to put a tree stand, or I want to find a kill tree, not a tree stand, but a kill tree, a place that I want to come back to, because as I described earlier, it's very flat, and when it's flat like that, it's just difficult to hunt because you've got deer movement could be anywhere. The hot oak tree could be, 100 yards away or 50 yards away or whatever. But I want something that really pinches down movement. And so as I moved from that trail that runs north and south, as I moved towards that pinch, based on these new trees that had fallen, I found a scrape. And that's exciting. That was exactly what I had hoped for. I'd seen a few rubs in this area before. Now, that's always nice to see, but I found that scrape, and it was exactly where I would pretty much was going to sit in terms of being in a kill tree. And so to me, this is a huge success because I've found the spot within the spot, because I've hunted this area before on different tree setups. Now I'm going to have most of the wind comes out of the south where I'm at, and I'm going to need more of a southeast wind, I think, to hunt this. A southwest would be bad. I think there are times where I'm just going to have to gamble with the wind if it's a straight south or a straight north, or an east wind would be honestly perfect for this location, but it's not going to be, as we all know, what's perfect for you isn't going to necessarily work for deer movement. And so that was a real win in terms of finding that pinch point up high, and then that scrape, and then finding what I found down low. What was also interesting is that down low, the area that intersects with where you have the creek crossing, and then you have sort of the area that's a funnel that's driven primarily by the steepness of the ridge, is I did find I found a scrape there. I found a really good trail, of course, and a scrape down there. So I now have an area that I feel highly confident in, where I can feel like, okay, I'm going to hit a home run. I'm not going to have a single or a double, in the sense that I'm going to just see a few deer, or I'm going to see a shooter buck that's 150 yards away, or 100 yards away, or 75 yards away. I'm going to actually be in the game with either of these spots based on where I feel like I need to be. If I need to be low, I've got the spot. If I need to be high, I've got the spot. And I think between the two, I think early season is where I'm probably going to be low. Just based on previous intel with cameras. And as we move closer to the rut, I may move high because pressure is going to increase. And I think that area is going to be less pressured, and probably an area that holds deer as we get into late October and November. Certainly it holds doe families. I did see that. A lot of doe movement, a lot of doe families. Some nice bucks. I would say two nice, big time shooter bucks. There were a lot of other medium-sized bucks. I'm not one to pass on a medium-sized buck. I will shoot just about anything if it gives me a good shot, especially during bow season, because as we all know as bow hunters, it's a tough proposition getting a great shot on a nice buck. That's a good kill shot. So I'm not one to be picky, but my point is that I did not find the two magnums that I had seen in the past, and that doesn't it's not the end of the world. As we know, trail cameras, only give us limited a small percentage of the data that's out there. And so as far as those magnums, I have no idea where they're at or what happened with them, but hopefully I'll continue to put cameras out, and hopefully one of those come back into the picture. But again, I would just encourage you to get out, test theories, try to find this is is this an A spot for me? No, it's not. I know my A spot, and I know my A spot really, really well. And my A spot is a place that I would hunt 9 times out of 10. But my A spot's not always, I know things will change at that A spot. I have seen more pressure at my A spot. This is public land, and things change, and people will start, figuring some things out themselves. And so it's important that I continue to develop other spots. I would encourage you to do the same. Backup spots. And the more intel that you build now, the more fun you're going to have come the fall hunting season, the more confident you're going to be, and the more likely you are going to fill that tag, because as we talked about at the beginning, it's a function of location and duration. So thank you all for your time, and again, thank you for your support, and best of luck this season. Get out there and do some scouting. And oh, by the way, I found a shed. How about that? That was kind of fun too. But thanks again for your all's time and support. All the best. Bye.
Start your electric journey right here, right now. With a Volvo XC90 Recharge, our plug-in hybrid SUV with extended range. For more everyday electric journeys on a single charge, with a hybrid option for longer adventures. Contact your local retailer to book a test drive or design your own vehicle at volvocars.com/US. The Volvo XC90 Recharge plug-in hybrid, the electric car with a backup plan.